From that kama, krodho abhijayate, comes anger. Now suppose we don't have enough money to buy that food. He says, why don't I have so much money? Why is life so unfair? Why is society arranged in such a way that some people can enjoy good things, I can't enjoy good things? Or say if you have diabetes because of which you can't eat sweets. Why is life so unfair? Why do I get this terrible disease? Why can't I enjoy life? So we feel angry with the limitations. They could be personal or they could be social that prevent us from enjoying that object. Sakama krodho bhijayate. And this sequence goes on in the next verse till one just succumbs to that desire and it goes to self-destruction. So let's recite the verse together 3 times. So it's written as bhijayate, but it's read as abhijayate. When the comma comes before, it is abhijayate. Okay? Together. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. No, together. Not responsively, together. It is an easy verse, most of us know it. So let's try to recite it responsively. Not responsively. How is it? Together, collectively. Okay? Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. 2 more times. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate. Thank you. English or Hindi? Sure. Okay, so those who would prefer in Hindi, the translation will be done behind over there. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today morning we are discussing from the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita today evening. So I'll talk about this class in 3 broad parts. So I'll talk about it using an acronym MET. M refers to the mechanism of how our mind works, and E will talk about exploitation of how this mechanism is exploited in today's world, and T is transcendence. At how we can use the very same mechanism to rise above, to raise ourselves above the entanglement of the world. The principle that this verse is talking about is that we all know that attention is important. Say, if you go to college and if you don't pay attention, then we don't grasp much. That we are studying something, we are hearing something in a class, and then sometimes a long class is going on, and then what happens? When there is a long talk, our mind goes for a walk. And then if there is some humor, the mind comes running, hey, what was the joke? I want to know the joke. I also want to laugh. So what happens is, we miss the joke, but we might miss some important points also. So in one sense, our attention determines what we grasp, what we understand when something is spoken. But this is something which is very easy for us to explore, to develop or understand. When we are talking with someone, we see somebody is absent-minded, we see their eyes rolling. They say, hey, where are you? Come back to Earth. Which planet have you gone off to? So the idea is, we all understand the result of absent-mindedness, that we don't understand what is going on. So our attention determines what we grasp. That is true, but there is something more. And that more is described in this verse. Our attention determines what grasps us. Not just what we grasp, but what grasps us. Grasp means to understand, but grasp also means to catch hold of. I have grasped the subject. That means I have caught hold of it. Now it's there, it's fit in my mind. I'm not going to forget. But what grasps us means what catches us. So this is the phenomena which is outlined in this particular verse. That the thing that we give our attention to, that starts growing in our consciousness. And as it starts growing, then it starts catching our consciousness. So I'll explain the sequence that is described in this verse. Say, if this is our consciousness, and say this is some object, maybe it's some food item that we would like to eat, maybe it's some good looking person that has caught our eye, maybe somebody has a drinking habit and they are going for a corporate meeting, and on the way they see there are some drinks over there, and then that catches their eye. Now they may move on, but they've seen it and it has gone inside their consciousness. Now there are many things which come in our visual range, but we don't necessarily notice them. See, if we go to some event, we might meet 50 people, and most of them we may not even remember them at all. Some people we tend to remember. Now some people make an impression on us. Oh, this person is very tall, this person was overweight, or this person was very smart, this person looked really dumb. Anything out of the range that is there, out of the normal that is there, that creates an impression. Now when we use it, creates an impression means we are talking that I remember it, it's there in my mind. We use the word impression in that way. So that has a double meaning. I'll come to that. So what happens is, we are seeing it here at this stage, the consciousness has gone outwards, and here there is simply perception. So perception, we could say, is drushyato. This is the stage before this. We cannot go through the world with closed eyes. There are many things we will see, and there are many things which are not necessarily desirable or healthy. So many agitating sides are there. So many disturbing, distracting things are there in the world. But drushyato is not the problem. Just seeing things is not the problem. When this is we could say, this is the pre-2.62. This does not lead to any problem. But the first stage 2.62 is, this particular verse we are discussing is, that thing comes into our consciousness and it has created an impression over here. So this is where the contemplation is starting. That means the object may or may not be there in our perception right now, but it is being mentally replayed. Hey, which drink was that? I have had a few drinks, but that seems to be, this is a big hotel, maybe this is some special expensive kind of drink. I would like to have a taste of it. So it starts replaying in our mind. This is the stage of dhyayato. So drishyato, many things come in our eyes and they don't even register. But this registers and it starts replaying. Now, in general circles in the world, the word contemplation may not be very common. So, especially when there is contemplation, what is involved is imagination. The thing triggers our imagination. Hey, if I eat that, how would it taste? I'm sure it would be great. If I have a drink of this, it must be a very special drink. So that particular object, when the replay is happening, it's not just like on YouTube, we replay the same thing again and again and again. Now, what is being replayed on YouTube might be the same thing, or on YouTube Shorts or Insta Reels. But if it's some sensual image or something like that, our mind starts imagining more and more. So it is the imagination that triggers us. So this contemplation means the imagination starts happening. Now once the imagination starts happening, it's an incremental process and we will go through the process eventually. But I'll focus right now from at this stage, it's just we are giving our attention to it. We gave our attention, we saw it, and then it caught our attention. Then over a period of time, I'm not going to the sequence, I'm just right now going to the last stage. What happens is that particular object becomes so big that it fills our consciousness. And at that time, we can't think of anything else at all. So somebody has a drinking habit. And they see a drink as they pass by for a meeting. And then they go for the meeting and their boss is speaking and they're looking at their boss. And then it abducts our consciousness. Apaharan, kidnapping, abduction. So it just catches our consciousness and takes it away. So the person might be in the boardroom meeting looking at the boss, but the consciousness has been abducted by the bottle of alcohol. And the consciousness has gone over there. So our attention determines not just what we grasp, how much we understand, but also what grasps us, what catches us. It just abducts and drags our consciousness away. See, when a child is kidnapped, what happens is the process of kidnapping or abduction. It can happen in many different ways. But quite often, if the child is in a public place, then if the abductor comes and pounces on the child will scream. And somebody will come and rescue the child. So initially what happens is, the abductor allures the child. Hey, do you want this chocolate? Do you want this toy? So the abductor offers something which is alluring. So the child may be going in this direction, and what happens is, when the alluring is there, the child comes here. And as soon as the child comes here, then the abductors come and take the child in the opposite direction. So this is where the child gets abducted. So initially, the act of abduction may not seem like an abduction. It's just like some adult is offering something nice to a child. But that which seems to be simply enjoyable or wonderful turns out to be something dreadful. So, what we give our attention to, we don't realize it, but it will grasp our consciousness and it will drag our consciousness away. So, this is how attachments are formed. And so, this is, I said I'll talk about three things. The first was the mechanism that I mentioned. So, the mechanism is what? When we give our attention to something, first, that thing is a component of our consciousness. It is one thing in our consciousness. But afterwards, it becomes not a component in our consciousness, it becomes the controller of our consciousness. It takes over our consciousness. So, this is the way. Initially, that thing is a component of our consciousness. But eventually, it becomes the controller of our consciousness. It grows in such a way that it has a controlling influence. Here it has become the controller. So when the European colonizers came to India, say when the Portuguese came to Calicut, initially they just came and they were one among many visitors to India. And they were welcomed by the king over there. So they were just one among many. It's like one component in the consciousness, they were one visitor in the kingdom. Through their manipulation, their trickery, their cunning, whatever, then after just a few decades, they were ruling that country. But the colonialists, others, British, took over the country. So they came in as just one visitor, but then they became the ruler. So now as compared to the many Islamic invaders who came to India, they came openly as invaders. There were a few Muslim people who had come as traders, and some trading was going on between India and the Middle East before that. But when the invaders came, they were openly coming as invaders. And then at least some resistance was put to it. Now, it's a historical mystery that why so many times, so many invaders came and India was defeated so many times. One thing was we were always divided, but there are many factors involved over there. Many factors. Indian kings fought on elephants, and elephants have majesty, but elephants are unwieldy. Those who come on horses, you can have a majesty, but you are right on top, anybody can shoot you from anywhere. And the elephants don't move very fast. That's why Shivaji Maharaj completely changed strategy, and he didn't even use a chariot. He just ride on a horse. So many of the Islamic invaders who came to him, he turned their trick on them. Like on a chariot, the horse has to pull the chariot. The horse, it takes a lot of effort. The chariot can't move as fast as a person on a horseback. So that's how he was able to move very swiftly and attack and ambush and plunder and harass the Islamic persecutors at that time. The point I'm making is that as contrasted with the Islamic invaders, the colonialists as traders. They said, oh, we will give you some products and we will charge something for it. We are here to give you something. But they came apparently to give something, then they took everything. You know about Africa, they say that when the Europeans came to Africa, the Europeans had the Bible and the Africans had the land. 100 years later, the Africans had the Bible and the Europeans had the land. So, they changed completely. So, the idea is, here, of course, the Europeans also fought some battles, but they did not come off as invaders initially. They came off as traders. So, and they were very respectful and deferential. To the deferential means very, very courteous to the king. So, like that, when temptations come initially, they don't come as invaders, or at least they don't seem to be invaders to us. They seem to be there to give us pleasure. And just come in and one component in the consciousness, and hey, that's nice. Let me explore this a little bit. Let me fantasize about it. Let me imagine about it. So, what we give our attention to, that Self-destruction through attention, or captivation through attention. I said, what we give our attention to, that grasps us. So how does that captivation happen? So this is, imagination is dhyayato. Now, infatuation is, hey, that's nice, sangha. Now, from there, so here before that, there is attraction. So attraction is sangha. Infatuation is kama. So from that's nice to I want it. So that's nice is more like a observation, but I want it. From there comes anger, infuriation. So how would that feel? That is imagination. That feels nice. That's nice. That's attraction. I want it. That is kama. Now, infuriation, krodha is, who said I can't have it? Whoever is it, we feel angry toward that. It could be society, it could be culture, it could be our parents, it could be our financial situation, it could be our religion, it could be our country, whatever it is. We start feeling krodha. So at this stage, the krodha may not be in the form of violence. At that stage, krodha can also be in the form of resentment. Silent, seething anger. Who says I can't have it? Why are there so many rules like this? Why is it so restrictive? So then that krodha, it moves forward. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Is delusion. Sammoha. Now sammoha means that we forget or we become confused about, what is the confusion? About what is important, what matters more and what matters less. There is a confusion. So a student may have an exam tomorrow and they're thinking, okay, that movie is being released today. I've seen so many trailers about it. So many people are saying, anticipating. I saw that some trailer reactions. People are excited. I should watch it. I've got an exam tomorrow. I need to study. Forget it. Then I'll come back and study later. Let it go. So what is happening is, okay, even if somebody wants to watch a movie, watching a movie just before an exam is not just a waste of time. It's a tragedy. It's a losing a precious opportunity, maybe hurting or ruining our career. But when the confusion happens, we lose our sense of what is more important and what is less important. Sammoha. Sammoha, what happens? Sammoha, Sruti Vibhrama. So that is oblivion. Oblivion is forgetfulness. So Smriti is remembrance. Vibhrama. So we may have been warned by someone. When you go to college, there is so many distractions. If you're staying in hostel, maybe our parents are not there to watch us, our elders are not there. Be very careful. You're going there to study, don't waste time in movies, don't waste time in drinks, don't waste time, don't get caught in drugs. Hey, all my friends are having a party, let me go. No, what happens is, forgetfulness means whatever good instructions or good guidance, what happens is, there is a delete button is pressed over there. It just control alt delete, gone. So sammoha smriti vibhrama. And now this can refer to scriptural instructions. It can also be refer to general good instructions that we may have heard. Say we see some product and a new version of a phone has come. I want to buy it. It's quite expensive. Just maybe wait for 6 months, 1 year. As the phone becomes older, its price also goes down. Even if you want to buy it, you can buy it later. Now if you buy it, You don't have enough money, you'll have to take some loan, you'll have to pay for it, your savings will go away. So what happened? No, I want to buy it. So Smriti, people may have told us, even a financial guide or some people may have told us, don't spend beyond your capacity. But Smriti Vibhrama, we forget that. And then Smriti Vibhrama, what happens? Smriti Vibhrama Buddhi Nasha. So what happens at this point is, after good guidance is forgotten, then intelligence is destroyed. Intelligence is our guide about right and wrong, what should be done and what should not be done. So our sense of right and wrong gets lost. And when that happens, buddhi nashat pranashyati. Then there is self-destruction. Self-destruction is pranashyati. So nowadays, gambling was always there, but nowadays there's online gambling, there's cricket gambling, there is so many ways of gambling. Somebody doesn't even have to go to a gambling den. They don't even have to go to a casino. They can just be there in their home. Their bank account becomes empty, their credit cards become used, and they pay for 6 hours, and after they wonder, what did I do? I ruined my life. Self-destruction. What have I done? This is the time when we start beating ourselves. What have I done? We start realizing this, but by this time it is too late. So this is the sequence of self-destruction. What we give attention to, it grasps us. It takes control of us. And it makes us do things which we would normally not have done. So how does this happen? I said the overall outline. But there are two things which can make this whole process worse. That's what we talk about now, exploitation. The mechanism is something enters into our consciousness, it's small, but then with time it becomes big. And these are the stages through which it becomes big. Now, some of these stages may be conscious for us. Some of these stages may not even be conscious. Most of the times, when it is happening, we are very conscious of it. But if we afterwards retrospect, look back, then we can think, maybe when I was about to spend some money, spend too much money on something, when I was about to gamble something, a voice inside said, no, don't invest this money. That was some smriti pain. That was maybe our parents had told, maybe we had heard some good advice, maybe we had read some stories from Itihasas about the danger of greed. That smriti was going on, but that smriti was sidelined. So what happens is that when one thing we are paying attention to, that starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, other things become smaller and smaller, till they are just sidelined, banished from our consciousness. So that's how we fall. So there are two things. I talk about mechanism, now I'll talk about exploitation. So when today I'm going to talk about karma and bhakti and self-empowerment, I'm going to do the law of karma in the sense of what action leads to what consequence in the future. I'm going to talk about the consequences of actions in terms of the impressions that they form inside us. See, when first time we do this path from contemplation to self-destruction, it is relatively a gradual slope, it is a gentle incline. So when we are going downwards, at any time we can stop ourselves. It's possible if a cycle is going down an incline. If we don't do anything, it will just go down the incline. But we can stop it. If we put in an effort, we can stop it. However, as a person keeps doing the same thing again and again and again. So first time a person goes to a party, or maybe a person goes to where drugs are available, then college, the other friends say, let's smoke weed, let's have some drugs. Okay, we'll try it. Maybe once I'll try it out. So what happens is, at that time, at any time, we can stop. It's a gentle incline. But the person drinks once, twice, thrice, 4 times. Each time this cycle happens. It's not the same thing happening. When there is repetition, what happens is the inclination becomes stronger. And basically, over a period of time, this like this, from contemplation to self-destruction. So if somebody is in a cycle, the cycle is pushed off the cliff of a mountain. Then just go down straight. And using your willpower will not be enough to stop it. What can we do? Incline has come so steep that we just can't do anything. So this is the stage where it's an addiction. Arjuna talks about it when he says that athakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha. Papam charati means it's something sinful that is dragging me. And he just uses 2 words. Anichan apivarshne. It's like I don't want to do it. I don't desire to do it. But baladivan yojitaha. So he's using anichan. Anichan means it is not desired by me. But balad. Balad means it is I am forced. So what is happening here is, when that particular habit becomes very deep rooted, then as soon as we see that thing, from that dhyato to pranashyati, it becomes very rapid. So if somebody has become an alcoholic, then as soon as they see a bottle of alcohol, it's sarva dharman parityajya mayam ekam sharanam vraja. Ekam, mayam ekam, only that alcohol. One of my friends showed me, there was an alcohol awareness ad in Soviet Russia. See, after the Second World War, initially when communism was spreading, Russia suffered the most in the Second World War, because Hitler had penetrated way into Russia, had almost conquered Moscow, and then Russia pushed them back. It was the bloodiest war that happened in terms of casualties. So the Russian economy was devastated. So at that time, people just didn't have anything, any jobs, any proper things. So drinking was a huge problem at that time. So an ad at that time where a family is sitting and watching TV, and the TV there was a news, the prices of vodka has gone up. And there is the child, the son in the family is very timidly, little fearfully asking his father, "Dad, will you drink less now?" And the father immediately replies, "No, you will eat less now." So now we may say, what kind of monster will want to drink while keeping their child starving? Well, that's the kind of monster that alcoholism is. So alcoholism is a monster, and it can make a human being into a monster. So in this case, what has happened is, as soon as that bottle of alcohol, thought of alcohol is in, it's become like a steep cliff. It's not a gentle incline. And then what happens? The person just falls. So now from here also, the person can be saved, but it's very difficult. So the point to understand over here is, when we are repeatedly engaging in some activity, it's not just, oh, I'm enjoying once, what the big deal? No, each time we are indulging in that activity, the inclination of the flower is changing. And that means we may think that anytime I'll stop it. There was a British thinker, Oscar Wilde, he said, giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I have done it over 100 times. So, I gave up smoking 100 times. What does that mean? I gave up smoking, but smoking didn't give me up. Isn't it? I started smoking again, and then again I gave it up, and again it caught me. So, we live in the illusion that, oh, it's easy to give up. And that's why we keep indulging. So, the way karma works, so when we say karma has external consequences and internal consequences. So the external consequences will come in the future. But the internal consequences, they are formed in our mind. The impressions are created. And the internal consequence of the inclination becomes stronger. The inclination becomes stronger means what? The slope of that surface, slope of the mental floor, we can say. The floor inside our mind becomes steeper. So this is the internal consequence of karma. Many times we think that, if I can just do something secretly enough, then nobody will catch me for it. And if nobody catches me, then I can get away with it. He says, didn't you see the speed limit? I saw the speed limit, I just didn't see you. So the idea is that if nobody catches us, then no matter how fast we go, it doesn't make any difference. But the problem is that each time we get away by going over the speed limit, what happens is that tendency to go over the speed limits become more and more and more. You may have heard this word, speed demons. Has anyone heard this word? Speed demons means, like some people are possessed by a speed demon. They just go at a dangerously reckless speed and they get a thrill in that. Especially if people are on a bike, a motorcycle, a two-wheeler, there is like a perverse thrill that comes in, going very fast, creating a huge noise and catching the attention of everyone who is seeing us. So one of my friends is an orthopedic surgeon. He was going to his hospital in his car and he saw a young man just going very fast. So then there's a red signal where he had to stop, and he came also there. This devotee friend of mine, and his car pulled over, and he rolled down his window and he took out his card. He said, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, you are soon going to need my services. So each time a person goes fast beyond the speed limit. So what happens is dhyayato vishaya sangasteshu pajaya sangat sangayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. Who has made the speed limit? Who says I have to stick with in the speed limit? Nothing is going to happen to you. I just want to have some fun. So that krodha is basically the krodh against the rules, the boundaries, the seema that is limiting us, or we think it is limiting us. And each time we go against it, that the tendency to repeat that increases more and more and more. So now what happens is somebody might just go above the speed limit once, twice, maybe they go at night where the road is very clear, but then the speed demon, that means it's almost like something, I say, what we give our attention to that grasps us. So that speed demon seems to catch hold of that person, and then even in the daytime, even if they are going through a school area, they just go at a dangerously high speed. And some kid is crossing the road or kid is running and playing, and then they see, and before they can brake, bang, they have hit the kid. It's a tragedy. It's a horrible thing. The kid's life could be ruined, the driver's life could be ruined. So what happened is that when they keep doing the thing again and again and again, the inclination becomes stronger. So when we do something wrong by our wrongdoings, so we may not be caught for them. Caught for them means somebody else catches us. The police catches us doing something. We do something secretly and somebody finds out and they catch us. We may or may not be caught for them, but we will be caught by them. By them means what? By doing the same thing again and again, our tendency to do that will become more and more and more till that very action will lead us to self-destruction. So caught by them means initially it is a gradual thing, eventually it becomes super steep. And then nobody else has to catch us, that thing will only catch us and drag us down to self-destruction. So this is how karma works. in terms of disempowering us. When we keep doing something unwittingly, think, I'm just enjoying, what's the big deal? I can give it up anytime I want. But it's not that simple. Because the karma creates impressions. And the impressions change the inclination of our mental flow. And what makes this danger worse in today's world is that dhyato, it has become especially easy with technology. That there's always the possibility to contemplate on the objects is there, whichever desirable object is. But now through technology, what has happened is we have access to the objects to contemplate on them very easily. Say, just like there is alcoholism, there is something called shopoholism. Shopoholism. Alcoholism is very common among men. Shopoholism is very common among women. So shopoholism is shop till you drop. So like just keep shopping things. Now I don't want to generalize. Women are also alcoholics. Men may also be going on shopping sprees. But it's an overall pattern. Now what happens is that in earlier, at least you had to go to some shopping mall and you had to buy things, put them in a trolley and carry them out. But now you can just sit in your home, not even on the computer, just on a phone. Just take an Amazon or something, click buy. If somebody has enough money, they can just spend the whole money. People have rooms which are filled with packages that they have hardly ever opened. Just opened once and okay, what do I do with it? So Amazon has this policy in America that you can buy something and return it for 30 days. Now initially when Amazon came to India, they tried to do it and Indians just started exploiting that facility. So now Amazon doesn't have that facility in India. But the point is that dhyato, that contemplating and acting on upon it becomes very easy. So the eyes always desire to see enjoyable objects. Now with anybody who has a broadband connection can take in more sensual, obscene images in 15 minutes than the wealthiest collector of such perverse images could watch in 50 years. Somebody has to get a painting book or a photo book or whatever. So now that dhyato has become dangerously easy. It's not just easy, it is actually made easy. It is, as I said earlier, it's an attention economy. That means that the attractive objects or objects presented attractively, they are bombarded into our senses. And there are many sociologists who are now questioning whether our technology has become too strong for our morality. That means the human will, it was not designed to withstand this level of temptation. It's like press a few buttons and you can access the tempting, contaminating, agitating images from the whole world. So the access to dhyato has become extremely easy. And the example given over here often is that, see, it's often when we are surfing on the net. Okay, I want to look at we are on YouTube, we are on Insta, we are looking for some interesting thing to watch. So we think we are searching for something. So what happens is, we think so this is something I want to watch. So we think like I am the fisherman and the object is like the fish. I'm trying to catch something. I am trying to watch something. I'm trying to find something that I can watch, I can enjoy. But the reality is that actually speaking, that object is like the bait. And there are companies, there are media giants, they are like the fishermen. And we are like the fish. So we think we are searching for something, but actually something is searching for us. something is trying to catch us. That's why the world out there, it's not just passively existing. So it is not like this, it is like this. The world out there is not just passively existing, it's like they are trying to catch us and trap us. So, we are not the fisherman, we are the fish who is being caught. That whatever we give our attention to, that grasps us. So it comes into our consciousness, then over a period of time, it takes over our consciousness. So the media landscape that is there in today's world, how is it? It is how is it like a bait? See, the visible thing that we are saying, they are active. When we are watching TV, it's active. Something is always happening over there. Then it's attractive. It is. I was in America. I think it was Columbia University, and there's a kid who many people put very strange quotes on their T-shirts, and they themselves are not even aware. They just wearing it. Seems like a nice T-shirt. But this quote was, 90% of the world's women are beautiful. The remaining 10% are in my college. Now, at one level, it's like a slap at all the girls in that college. But it's also a perception. See, what happens is, when we see images on TV, in movies, on social media, they are doctored images. They are made up images. First there is physical makeup, and then there is digital makeup. So when we look at images on the internet or in the media, they look very, very attractive. And as compared to what people look around, people don't seem to be very attractive, isn't it? Repetition, not just because of our vulnerability of repetition leading to change of the mental inclination, but there is a out there trying to present the images in such a way they will more and more easily catch our attention and entrap us. So therefore, we are in a vulnerable situation. What we give our attention to, that will grasp us, that will catch us. So what we think are initially our desires. Our desires, eventually, we think I am pursuing that desire, but then what happens, that same thing, it becomes our demons. And they start, initially we chase our desires, but then our demons chase us. Now when I'm using the word demons, I'm using it in more contemporary sense. Like people say, I have some terrible demons inside me. That I give in to anger, I give in to fear, whatever, there are demons inside me. So common language, that means there is something inside me which harms me, which tends to threaten me, which tends to destroy me. And I don't know what to do about it. So this is the danger that we all have. So what do we do about it? I don't want to just paint a dark picture about the reality. The last part I'll talk about is, what was the acronym, anyone remembers? MET. So T was transcendence. So fortunately for us, this principle of Dhyayato, that is a universal principle, also applies for spirituality. So if we bring Krishna into our consciousness, so initially what happens is, when we are practicing bhakti, initially we may start with, we just bring Krishna into our consciousness. This is the level of attention. So initially we give Krishna entrance into our consciousness. There's kirtan going on, then our mind may wander here and there, let me focus on the sound. If we are doing japa, we try to focus on the sound. The class is going on, we try to bring Krishna into our consciousness. But then if we keep focusing, the central principle of bhakti is remember Krishna. Abhyasa, practice to remember Krishna. So when we do this, over a period of time, what happens is, the same principle, that our Krishna becomes bigger, and at this stage there is absorption. Absorption means what? It's like our consciousness has entered into Krishna. We don't merge with Krishna, literally, but our consciousness becomes immersed in Krishna. Just like the Vrajvasis were sheltered under Govardhan. There's a huge rainstorm going on, but because they were under Govardhan, they were not affected. So like that, when Krishna becomes big in our consciousness, then our consciousness becomes immersed in Krishna. And now the difference is that Krishna is Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the well-wisher of everyone. If he grasps our consciousness, he will guide us towards the things that are best for us. Tadami buddhi yogam. He will give us intelligence by which we can make good choices. So being grasped by Krishna is auspicious. And again, when Krishna fills our consciousness, then Maya has no place over there. So for us, that attention, the attention that is there, when we give attention to Krishna, gradually Krishna starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'll conclude with one last point. How can we start with attention and how can we move toward absorption? So basically, Krishna talks about Mai Arpita Mano Buddhir. So initially there is attention. At this point, okay, I'll allow two images to explain this. We consider the spiritual journey. Essentially what happens for us, initially, if you forget everything from this class, just remember this one image, you will get something of substantial value. See, initially for us, the world is big and Krishna is small. That means maybe Krishna exists, he doesn't exist, what difference does it make? You know, about 30 years ago when I was introduced to Bhakti, I started sharing it with my friends and relatives. So one of my uncles told me, he says, yeah, I believe in God. He is happy there, I'm happy here. So the idea is, God seems very small and irrelevant for us. But as we grow spiritually, what happens is the world becomes smaller and Krishna becomes bigger for us. So this is the essence of spiritual growth. The world becomes smaller means that the world's problems are not that big for us. Yeah, problems come, they will stay, and they will deal with them. They'll come and they will go. And the world's pleasures are also not that big. If I get something, that is good. If I don't get it, it's not the end of the world. Things come, things go. So the world becomes smaller for us. And when Krishna becomes bigger, Krishna is himself the source of shelter. He is the source of satisfaction. So when Krishna becomes bigger, the shelter and the satisfaction that we get also becomes bigger. So how do we do this? How can we make the world smaller and Krishna bigger? That is what Krishna has said, that to manage the mind. He says two principles, Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasena tu kaunteya, Vairagyena cha gruhyate. So these two words, Abhyasa and Vairagya, they can be understood many different ways. They may be translated by different acharyas different ways. But one way we could understand is, Vairagya is boundaries. Abhyasa is meant to create bonds. So what does it mean? That we need to create some boundaries between us and the world. We don't expose ourselves to the world so much. Then if we don't expose ourselves to the world so much, gradually the world starts becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Now if somebody is constantly looking at news, oh, this thing is going to happen, this thing is going to happen, this thing is going to happen, this thing is happening, this thing is happening, oh, this thing happened and this happened like this happened like that. The news cycle just goes on and on. But sometimes if you just turn away from the news cycle, realize it's not that big a thing. The one social commentator, he said that news is basically the same old things happening to new people. Oh, this person won the match, this person lost the match, this person was attacked, this person cheated that person, this person did that. Same old things happen in the material world, it just happened to new people. So, we need to decrease our exposure to the world. And in one sense, for us, the boundaries come in the 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, intoxicating, gambling, illicit sex. What is that? We are creating some boundaries. So when we don't expose our mind to the world, then that thing, even if it is big, because there is no exposure, it will start becoming smaller and smaller. On the other hand, we need to create bonds between us. That means we start consciously exposing ourselves to Krishna. We start exposing our consciousness to Krishna. If we come to the temple, we come to satsang, we do our sadhana. By this, slowly Krishna will start becoming bigger and bigger in our consciousness. So whatever gets our attention gets us. It starts becoming bigger and bigger. So as we try to form a bond with Krishna, that bond initially can be in the form of a discipline. This is what I am going to do. And from that discipline, gradually it will grow. So in this way, the bond that is formed, how do we form the bond at this stage? This is the last point. The bond can be formed with our intelligence and with our mind. Now what do I mean? With our intelligence, we can try to cultivate appreciation. Appreciation is, what is the value of remembering Krishna? What is the benefit? Why is it important? There are many things important in the world, they are all artha. But Krishna is Paramartha. He is the most important reality. Our relationship with Krishna is the only relationship that is permanent, that is enduring. Now, everyone else may leave us, but Krishna will never leave us. Krishna is the one shelter that will never be lost. So with our buddhi, we try to have that appreciation. Evam buddhe param buddhva. Now with the mind, we try to cultivate attraction. Now at one level, we say we have to discipline our mind and focus our mind to force it to stay on Krishna. Some amount of discipline is important. But we also need to find out how at present I can find something in Krishna Bhakti that is attractive. So we may like music, we may like kirtans. Then whenever our mind gets agitated, as a past habit comes up, okay, I want to watch this, I want to drink this, I want to take this drugs, I want to do this. Whatever comes up, at that time, we can try to find out something that is, so there are many things that feel good to us, and there are some things that are good for us. So there is much food that is tasty, and there is food that is healthy. That is tasty and healthy, where just one circle of life would be so easy, isn't it? But unfortunately, not like that. But that does not mean that there may be no food that is both healthy and tasty. There may be few food items like that. They taste good and they are also healthy. So we try to find that. So similarly, in bhakti, there are many activities. So what is it that is good for me and also feels good for me? So it will be easier to focus on it. If something is good but doesn't feel good, it will be difficult to focus. We need to do that also as a discipline, but especially when we are tempted, when we are agitated, at that time to focus on will be difficult. At that time to focus, we find out. After the session, just take 5 minutes to list 3 things, which are good for you and which also feel good to you. Music might be something that is good. There are many kinds of music. You may just like music, but devotional music, it feels good and also is good for us. It calms our consciousness. It cleanses our mind. And we may like to do some seva. We like to be of help to others. We come to the temple and serve some prasadam, do some seva. We feel good about ourselves. That is good for us, it feels good for us. So if we can find those and we try to fix our mind on those. And then gradually what will happen is, from the stage of attention to the stage of absorption, it goes by the path of these 2 lanes. Like it can go through by appreciation of the intelligence, or it can go by the attraction of the mind. So either way, if both things work, that's wonderful. But even if one thing works, that is also, we are taking a path forward. So, yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshe. When you said somehow or other fix the mind on Krishna, what it means is sometimes we will find that there is something which we are doing which our mind likes to do also. That's nice, we do it. But sometimes it's not like that. Then we have to push ourselves using our buddhi. In our life, we all do some things which we don't like, but we know they are important for us. We may not like our job, but we know this is what is paying my bills. This is what by which I am going to be able to take care of my family. So I do that job. So we have the appreciation, the intelligence for the value of it. So we try the mind's attraction or the intelligence appreciation through either of those. We try to fix our mind on Krishna. We try to give our attention to Krishna. First, what will happen is पहले हम भगवान को मन में लाते हैं और फिर मन भगवान में लाते हैं. First we bring Krishna into our mind and then we bring our mind into Krishna. Bhajahu re mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charana Ravindare. So when we bring our mind into Krishna, then we feel sheltered. Then there is no fear that comes. Because we are sheltered in Krishna. That fear is not just the fear of dangers of this world, but the fear even of the temptations of this world. We will become safe. We will become satisfied. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. We were talking about how the whole topic was about self-empowerment. How we can become disempowered and how we can empower ourselves. So empower means that we have the power to rise upwards. So I started, we talked about 3 topics, M, E and T. So M was the mechanism. The mechanism was what I talked in 2.62, Dhyato Vichayan Pumsa. So what happens is initially something comes in our consciousness and then eventually that thing rules our consciousness. So this is the object and that object becomes controlling. I give the example of colonialists. They didn't come as invaders, they came offering gifts. So many of the tempting objects, they come in a very unsuspicious way. They come in a very disarming way, but then they disarm us, they overpower us. So from giving attention to self-destruction. So this cycle happens and we discussed that when we do something initially that from attention to self-destruction, it is gradual. It happens very slowly. But by repetition, then it starts happening very rapidly. It becomes a steep incline. This happens through repetition. And when the inclination becomes like this, then this is the stage of addiction. A person is trapped. It just they feel as I think about it, I am controlled. I just can't say no to it. So then exploitation, I talked about the internal consequence of karma. Internal consequence of karma is that we don't have to be caught for our wrongdoings. We are caught by our wrongdoing themselves. Even if nobody else catches us, the wrongdoing itself will catch us by creating stronger and stronger impressions that trap us. See, in some places in America, they have decriminalized drugs. You can buy drugs, you can sell drugs. And they think by this, we will be able to deal with the problem. But the thing is, whether it's illegal or legal, people are caught by it, they are going to keep doing it. So, we are caught by our wrongdoings. And that's why it is not just, just once I do it, only I'm thinking about it, I'm doing it secret, nobody's catching me. No, we are going to be caught by our own impressions. And then I talked about the media. It is the attention economy. They are all trying to catch our attention. So we think I am the fisherman. But actually what are we? We are the fish. What is happening is, it is our attention that is being caught with the various media that are offered online, being like the bait. So I talked about how the virtual world is destroying us not only spiritually but even physically. So the overexposure to porn, how it is having sociological consequences, leave alone spiritual consequences. So we live in a very vulnerable world where our technology may have become too strong for our morality. That our minds and our willpower is not designed to deal with this level of temptation. So what can we do? Fortunately for us, this same mechanism we can use for transcendence. So initially, we bring Krishna into our consciousness. We give attention to Krishna, and eventually what will happen is, Krishna will fill our consciousness. In fact, Krishna will contain our consciousness. That is where there will be absorption. And to bring about this absorption, what we need to do is, we need to create boundaries, or bury boundaries, so that we don't give our attention too much to other things. And then we create bonds. And I talk about the bonds can be created through buddhi, through the intelligence. Through the intelligence, what we do? There is appreciation. We appreciate the value of remembering Krishna, of serving Krishna, of connecting with Krishna. With the mind, we find something that is attractive for us. And in this way, as our consciousness will become absorbed in Krishna, what will happen is, Krishna was initially smaller and the world was bigger. But eventually what will happen is, the world will become smaller and Krishna will become bigger. It is at this stage we will become materially peaceful, because the world's desires or troubles won't agitate us so much. We will become materially peaceful, and because we are connected with Krishna, so we will become spiritually joyful. This is the joy of greatness of bhakti, materially peaceful, spiritually joyful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Take some photos from behind. The audience and speaker both are there. Okay. Yes, we have a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Just 10-15 minutes. Has Rajharipo replied? Yes. What did he say?
Anytime after 7 o'clock.
Okay. Yes.
Everything here in this transcendence.
Transcendence. Yes, go ahead.
Here you mentioned with intelligence we should do appreciation.
Yeah.
And with mind we should be attraction.
We need to find what mind at present.
Yes. So in that you mentioned
knows the importance of the medicine. And the mother will make the child take the medicine even if the child is not ready. So when there is appreciation of the value of something, then we can push ourselves to do that thing, even if we don't feel like doing it. So now, if we don't appreciate the value of something, say suppose somebody has a very wealthy parent and they don't need the money from a job. And if they just don't like the job, they don't like the boss in the job, they don't like the colleagues, I just quit. No, getting a job is not so easy. You cannot just quit jobs like that. But if they don't appreciate the value of something, then what happens? As soon as we dislike it, just forget it. So, when there is appreciation of the value, then we don't leave it on our emotions alone so much. But when there is not appreciation of the value, then we handle it based on our emotions. If I like it, I'll do it. If I don't like it, just forget it. Okay?
just one more thing. With this boundaries that you mentioned, so you need not to expose to those like worldly things. But like most of the audience sitting would be Guruji, working or maybe a student. So preparing for civil exams and so on. So at that level, Guruji, these boundaries, what practically should be working out?
See, there are boundaries. There are boundaries which are social and there are boundaries that are individual. What that means is, the social boundaries can come from culture or they can come from law. So, for example, that say we may be attracted to some food item in a shop, but we can't just go and rob it from there. And shoplifting is a crime. So by law, certain boundaries are actually put on us. Now, a male may be attracted to a female, but a man cannot force himself on a woman. It's a crime. So there are certain boundaries that come by law. There are some certain boundaries just that come by culture. See, in the past, smoking was considered very cool. Movie stars would all show themselves smoking and everything is so nice. But now, more or less, it is worked in such a way that smoking in public is frowned upon. There are some smoking areas where people go and smoke. Don't make others passive smokers. So it's a boundary that is created through culture. That culturally something is disapproved and people stop doing it. Now at an individual level, so now what happens is in society also there are some boundaries. No society can live without boundaries. So like even when a man and woman are attracted to each other, but even in moral materialistic society, like staring at someone is considered impolite. So there are certain boundaries. So, but like that, we need to consider our situation and we have to see what boundaries are possible for us and essential for us in our particular situations. So, we can't just avoid phones. So on our phones there are so many apps and we have to use the money of the apps. But then we can put a boundary like, okay, I won't use this app for more than this much time. And the technology can create the temptation, but the technology can sattvic, rajasic and tamasic also. There are thoughtful people also who are considering, even materialistic people, who are considering the harmful effects of technology. So there are some apps that create regulation. So okay, there is app, okay, I use this app for 15 minutes and then close the app. So we can create some net surfing regulators, social media regulators. So individual boundaries can be concerned by what is essential for us and what is feasible for us. So for most of us say, it's not feasible to live without a phone. We need a smartphone. But okay, how much do I want to use my smartphone? So we may decide that, okay, these apps I'm not going to open before 12 o'clock every day. And I'll do my important work, I'll complete that and after that I'll open the app. So we can create boundaries like that based on our particular situation. See, when we are interacting with people, male-female interaction cannot be avoided, we work in the same place. But then we can have certain boundaries. We can be polite, but we don't have to be too familiar, we don't have to flirt, we don't have to be frivolous. So we don't have to be rude, but we can create boundaries for ourselves. And one thing about the culture today is that people understand these boundaries. If we don't show much interest, then people also let go. It doesn't happen all the time, but many times it happens like that. If I don't step on your toes, then you won't step on my toes. That's the way it works. So we have to create individual boundaries for ourselves. Okay? Thank you. Other questions? Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Prabhu, one thing that you repeated quite a lot of time in the lecture was whatever we give our attention to, we are grasped by it. So in our Krishna consciousness, in our spiritual journey, we are trying to give our attention to so many spiritual activities, right? And we are trying to do it intentionally. Even then, why is not our mind or intelligence being attracted to those activities? So how is it applicable in spiritual sense, what the statement you said throughout the lecture? And there was one more question.
Okay, so why is our mind not getting attracted to spiritual things? I won't say it is not getting. Are all of you able to hear me? A little volume has gone down, I think. Okay. So, see, it depends on what kind of past impressions are there. Certainly some change has happened, otherwise we wouldn't even be sitting here. We have developed some attraction, we have developed some appreciation, but depending on the past conditionings, the change may take time. So there is a small thing not very far away from here. Have you heard of this? Now, suppose somebody has visited a website called Bollywood.com. Maybe they have visited the website 100 times. And they come to a spiritual talk like this. and they hear about Bhagavad Gita and they want to know what is Bhagavad Gita. So they open their browser and type B. And what happens? Bollywood.com comes as autocomplete. They didn't want to go to Bollywood.com, but still it came as autocomplete. Why? Because of the past visits. Now, at that time, if they want to go to BhagavadGita.com, they have to type all the 18 letters. So typing the 12 letters is abhyas. And while you are typing BHAG, autocomplete is in Bollywood. So not clicking that is the vairagya. So our mind will propose something, but to say no to that. And this is what I am going to do. So the abhyasa and here vairagya. Now suppose somebody has visited Bollywood.com 100 times. And then they visit BhagavadGita.com 10 times. Now after 10 times also, when they type B, Bollywood.com is only going to come as autocomplete. Because they have visited so many more times. But at least BhagavadGita.com will also come as one of the autocompletes. It may come as the second one, but it will still be there. So the 10 times they have visited BhagavadGita.com is not gone waste. But 10 is not sufficient to counter 100. So if they just keep visiting BhagavadGita.com, if they visit BhagavadGita.com 100 times, then what will happen, and especially the recent 100 visits are to BhagavadGita.com, then what will happen is, after that, BhagavadGita.com will become the first autocomplete. Bollywood.com may still be there, but it will become the second autocomplete. And if they visit BhagavadGita.com 10,000 times, and they don't visit Bollywood.com, then that may no longer come as autocomplete. So it takes time. Now for some of us, if we have visited Bollywood.com only 10 times, then 10 times visit BhagavadGita.com and then Bollywood.com just goes off. But for somebody who has visited Bollywood.com 10,000 times, then even 100 times or 1,000 times may not be enough. So each one of us, we have a different set or degree of conditions from the past. And that's why our redirection of the mind may take less or more time for someone. But we shouldn't be discouraged. Our focusing on the mind on Krishna, it's never going waste. Although the effect is not being seen. So focus on Krishna, it is always helpful. It is always helpful. But about it being fruitful. Fruitful means we see it to be fruitful. That means our mind becomes attracted to Krishna. That will take time, or take, you can say, different degrees of time for different people. So depending on our conditionings, it may be easy, it may be difficult. Say somebody was eating meat before and they start taking prasad, and then they are going by train or by plane and the person next to them is eating meat. Now how many people feel attracted to the meat? Practically no one. Prasad is the higher taste. So what has happened is, the prasad, if you consider that, like prasad has actually overwritten meat, and that is not even coming as an option. So for some things it happens quickly, for some things it may take more time. Now what can complicate things is, we are visiting 25 times Bhagavad.com, but in between 5 times we visit Bollywood.com also. Then what happens, the browser, that is also, you're interested in that also. Then that will not get deleted or that will not get pushed out by the browser history. So that's why if you can have consistent abhyas and consistent vairagya, then the transformation will be faster. But if it is interrupted abhyas, sometimes we do it, sometimes we go to Bhagavad.com, sometimes we don't, and it is interrupted vairagya. Then what will happen is, sometimes we don't visit Bollywood.com, sometimes we visit Bollywood.com. So the speed will be more if it is consistent. Consistent abhyasa, consistent vairagya. And the speed will be less if it is interrupted. But whatever it is, we do what we can and things will grow. The change will happen. Okay? Thank you. Yes, please. There is a mic.
Temptation is an armed wrestling match. the temptation we have to fight only for some time, and and for that time we have to face that aggravation. And if we think consciously and conscientiously, then we can overcome. And at that moment, we have to also deal with the options we have, like the material nature, like they are influencing us from within also, and the modes that are outside, they are also grasping us. The mode, and there is also competition in the modes. So how is it that we have to fight? And we also mentioned that we have to do things that we like, something like music. So it is always like moreover the modes of nature, or it is the temptation, or it is the thing which we like, that what depicts what we want to do in that situation.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So all the factors, they contribute to different degrees. So see, the conditioning that come to us, like the browser said, autocomplete that comes, that is in one sense the effect of the subtle material mechanism, and the modes are a part of that mechanism. So the modes do affect us. In one sense, you can say the modes are what are shifting the steepness of the inclination. So now, rather than getting too caught in, is this affecting it, is this affecting it, we understand there is a whole set of factors affecting us. And we just try to be as earnest as we can be. That means, okay, maybe somebody is an alcoholic, I cannot give up alcohol. Okay, but, I can drink 3 times a day, or I can drink 2 times a day. Now, no drinking throughout the day, that is not possible. Gradually, the capacity for regulation will increase. So we just start with doing what we can. So whatever boundary works for us, we try to establish that boundary. And whatever bond works for us, we start with that. Okay, I can't fix my mind in Krishna, I can't dance 16 rounds. Okay, start 1 round. I can't study the Bhagavad Gita for 2 hours. Okay, study for 10 minutes. Start with whatever bond we can, start with whatever boundary we can. And gradually the capacity will increase. Okay, don't get caught too much in analysis. It can lead to paralysis as we say. Okay. There is a question. Okay, there. How many questions are there? Okay, a lot of questions. We'll take 2-3 more questions. Yeah, continue. Loud, I cannot hear you. Speak a little loudly, I'll repeat it. No. I think the mic is a problem. You speak loudly, I'll repeat the question.
Devotees after practicing for many years, also they have a FOMO of seeing something spiritually or materially also. So how to understand?
Yes, so devotees may also have the fear of missing out. Yes, it's possible. Sometimes initially when you start practicing bhakti, we may have like a complete 1-0 attitude. This is spiritual, this is material, I'll give up everything material and go towards spiritual. Well, that's okay, but what happens is, you could classify things into spiritual and material. And just putting it for size, because the material is much more visible for us. Right? That's why I'm putting the size like that. But the other way to look at it, there is spiritual, and then in the material there is sattva, there is rajas, and there is tamas. So sattva, we can say, is generally pro-spiritual. Rajas is non-spiritual. Somebody is rajasic, I want to have a career, I want to have a job. They're not against spirituality, but I don't have time for this. Now tamas is anti-spiritual. Even in material life, not that everybody is into drugs and everybody is into sexuality. There are people who have boundaries because they want to achieve something in material life. So it is tamas is anti-spiritual. So sometimes what we think is I have to give up everything material and start practicing spiritual. And maybe initially for the first 5-10 years, because of the enthusiasm, we have youth, we have rajas because of the youth, and then we use that rajas practicing bhakti very forcefully. But as we come 35, 40, then rajas starts going down, and then we start realizing that maybe something sattvic, which I didn't have to give up. So we don't have to go back to all materialistic things, rajasic and tamasic things. But somebody may say, no, I like to go to nature and I like to have a walk in nature. And when I'm walking, I just want to look at nature, I don't want to chant Hare Krishna. That's okay. It's not a sinful activity, it's not a bhakti, it's a sadhana activity. It will calm our mind. So we can find out. Krishna said, Yukta ahara viharasya. So vihar is entertainment, recreation. Now some devotees may be able to find their recreation in some bhakti activity itself. But some devotees may not be able to find it out. Some devotees may, okay, I just hear kirtan, I feel relaxed. Some devotees may feel like, no, okay, I want to go for a nature walk. That's what relaxes me. Maybe I want to read some subhajita, some good quotes. They stimulate my intelligence. It may not be spiritual, like that. So we may have to find out something that helps us to relax our mind. So that fear of missing out doesn't mean that we are going back to realistic life in the sense of tamasic. But we can find out some things which help us relax. And it's not that we are losing our spiritual taste. It's just that we are learning how we can practice bhakti sustainably.
Probably sometimes in spirituality also devotees have some hope, like I had this spiritually, I have that spiritually.
Yeah, I think that comes from sometimes we are practicing spiritual life, but we are practicing the material world. So in spiritual life also some activities get glamorized. Somebody is a good kirtaniya, somebody is a good preacher, somebody is a pujari on the altar. These are very visible services. And those who do services, they get a lot of praise, recognition. Others will not get that much recognition. So everybody wants to do those services. So what happens is, our seva that we do, there is some external happiness that comes in, some internal happiness that comes in. So we need to, over a period of time, find out some service which we feel satisfied doing, even if nobody will recognize us for that service. But till we find that service, we also need some external recognition. And that external recognition may not be an expression of the ego. It might just be that we also want reciprocation. We want to feel that what I'm doing is valued. And there are others who are valued. That's not a bad thing. You just have to find it, do it in an acceptable way. So we can evaluate, is this really important for me? Is it important for the community that I am living in? Then maybe we do it. But if what we are doing is enriching us, satisfying us, we don't have to let ourselves get distracted. Okay? Okay. 2 more questions.
So, what I have observed that when we are engaged in material activities and self-realization, then subject response or reciprocity is very immediate, but Krishna don't teach reciprocity immediately. So, it is how can we find that reciprocity with us, or it is even good that we shall expect from Krishna that he shall reciprocate with us?
Yeah, good question. So the problem, we want to turn away from the material world to Krishna, from Maya to Krishna. The problem is that Krishna is invisible and Maya is ultra visible. So it is not easy. It is not, definitely not easy. As you said that, Kankshata karmana siddhim, kshipram himanushe loke. Kshipram, the pleasure in this world comes quickly. Pleasure in bhakti takes time. So, what do? That is not just like material and spiritual life. In material life also the tension is there. Like, if I'm in college, do I want to be an achiever or do I want to be an enjoyer? When we enjoy, I'll do a drink and party and I'll do all those things. If I do an achiever, I'll focus on my studies, focus on my career. So, that tension between long term and short term, it is always there in our life. So basically what happens is, we need to balance our relationship with ourselves. What do I mean by that? See, there is the present me. There is the present me and there is the future me. So if I care only for the present me, I will be happy right now. So if I care only for the present me, then what will happen is I will stagnate. I will not grow much. I want to enjoy right now. I eat this, I watch this, I go to this party, I do these things. That happens in materialistic life, that can happen in spiritual life also. If I just care only for the present me, will stagnate. But if we care only, no, this is good for me right now, even if it doesn't feel, but if we care only for the future me, we will suffocate. At present, we feel, like, how long can I do it? I can't continue this. So each one of us needs to find the balance that my present me and my future me. So how can I give some pleasure to my present in such a way that it does not damage my future? So we all want some pleasure. So I want to eat some good food. Okay, if I eat some good food, that's not necessarily going to damage my future. If I get to drugs, that is going to damage my future. So I need to make sure that I give the pleasure to present me in such a way that it does not damage my future. And similarly, when I am facilitating my future me, I shouldn't suffocate my present. So some things may be good for us, but they may be impossibly difficult for us. And we just feel so burdened. Like some people do some tapasya, some people fast, and when they are fasting, the whole world knows they are fasting because they are so miserable when they are fasting. They are miserable, they make everyone else miserable. And then don't fast. You don't have to perform austerity like that. So each one of us has to find that balance of how to care for my present me and my future. So in material life also, it's not that we are giving up all materialistic pleasures. See, we eat food. Now, is that material pleasure spiritual pleasure? Well, you can say it's spiritual, but it's tasty material also. So we have to find out that balance, yukta viharasya. So how can I take care of my present me and take care of my future? That balance each individual has to find on their own. Okay? Last question. Sorry, I don't have time after this. Actually, I'm leaving for Singapore now. I have a flight to catch. So.
In that mechanism part, you explained about different stages of 2.2. So from what I ever understand is, it's like a trend. If I born on the station for diet, then the next station will be destruction, right? So what so now
I won't be that harsh.
Okay.
It's not that you get on Dhyato, from there destruction has to happen. From Dhyato, Sangha is there. Sangha is also one station. So it is not non-stop reading,
So in that out on any of the stage, so what would be the solution for a particular stage? Can you just in short, if I want that, so what is the solution?
So if we contemplate on something and the desire starts growing, can we stop this process? Well, as we move forward, it becomes more and more difficult to stop. Like, if somebody is riding a horse, now often horses have blinders. Blinders doesn't mean they're literally blind. They have some cloth or some slap on the sides. So the horse may see some fruit or some vegetable on the side of the road and they go over there. So we don't want that. The horse eyes are focused where the rider wants the eyes to go. Now if somehow the horse rider doesn't put the blinders on the horse, and the horse sees something, and the horse starts going in that direction. Now when the horse starts going in that direction, if the horse rider is alert, pull the reins and check the horse at that time. The more the horse starts running, the more it gains momentum. And once it gains momentum, then it will become that much more difficult to pull the horse. But even if the horse goes into a ditch and then the horse throws off the rider and the horse goes, even after that, the rider can come back. Can climb back the horse. Maybe they are a little injured. If the horse has gone out of control, you have to get back. It will take effort. So it's never a permanent loss. It's a serious loss, but it's always we have a next time. But each diversion and each distraction or each destruction will cost in terms of time, in terms of energy, in terms of pain. So that's the principle. It's always possible to stop, but more effort and if they fall in, it's even more effort and trouble. But generally, again, the principle of boundaries comes in. So for all of us, some boundaries are inviolable. So we all may get angry at others. But even if I get angry, I may yell at someone. But if we are in a cultural society, we will not use swear words. We will not give galis. That is a boundary. Even in materialistic culture, adults may use swear words, but if they are in the presence of children, they will not use that swear words. So we all have a sense of boundaries. So our boundaries can protect us at any particular place. That kama and krodha, from kama to krodha, see, kama itself is not the problem. Because Krishna later says, dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bhartashu. Says kama that respects the boundaries given by dharma. That kama is not a bad thing. In fact, that kama is one of the purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So, Ravana is considered bad not just because he had kama. He had kama that did not respect dharma. Sita was someone else's wife. He abducted her. Ravana had Mandodari. Ravana is not condemned for being with Mandodari. But the kama within dharma is not the problem. Kama that goes against dharma. So dharma is not just religion. Dharma is, it means, there are many different meanings. One of the meanings is order, harmony. So boundaries and rules maintain harmony. So we all need to create some boundaries. Either by our culture and upbringing and our conscience, we have some boundaries we implicitly accept. There are some boundaries which come because of law. There are some boundaries which we want to build on ourselves, and then we may tell others, if I do this, please warn me about it. So if you have a tendency to spend too much time on inappropriate sites, then we have some accountability software and we give the password to someone else, and that person can monitor our web history. What happens by that is we are creating a boundary over there. So basically in this process, at any place, boundaries can check us. Now exactly how those boundaries can be implemented, that is something which has to be seen. Say, if even if buddhinashat has happened, but say if you want to enjoy something and that object is physically not available itself. So at night we get urge to eat some food. We don't have that food. We wake up, we may go to our room, we go to our locker, we go to our fridge, that food is not there. Okay, now I have to go out somewhere, I have to buy that food, which shop will be open, and how will I go over there? It's so cold right now. Forget it, I'll buy tomorrow. But then that physical unavailability is also a boundary. Like if somebody is alcoholic and they are serious about recovering from their alcoholism, then to a bar. Then what will happen is, there will be no bar for them to go to the bar. So, if they are serious, they will have to relocate. That I have to create some physical distance between me and the bar. So like that, we have to see what boundaries we can create by which we can protect ourselves. Okay. So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande. So my best wishes and prayers that, and I have spoken all this doesn't mean that I am like some victorious person. I also have these battles of temptation. But these are weapons situated to fight the war. But ultimately, it is each one of us has to fight the war ourselves. Prabhupada said, we have to fly our own planes. So I offer my prayers and best wishes to all of you, so that you can protect yourself from the negative application of the Dhyayato principle, and that the positive application of this principle of contemplation to attract ourselves to Krishna, that you can apply it more and more. And I seek your prayers so that I can also do the same. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.